It's Saturday morning and I have about 2 hours before my creative cafe opens. Luckily, I live in the same house as the cafe, so commuting isn't an issue. But baking, that's another story. See, I technically should have baked last night, but I was hosting an evening event and by the time I was finished cleaning up, I was exhausted. Honestly, I have a bad habit of leaving things until the last minute. It's not ideal. So anyway, here I am whipping up a kladdkaka, which is a Swedish chocolate cake, in my home kitchen, which, thanks to a permit I got at the beginning of the year, doubles as my cafe prep space. Once the kladdkaka is in the oven, it's time to get the hallongrötar ready. They are basically shortbready biscuits with raspberry jam in them. Super yummy, buttery, crumbly goodness. Since starting the Creative Cafe, I've had to learn to bake a lot of new things, which I've surprisingly had a lot of fun with because I was never really a baker to begin with. Some of you might remember that when I got the keys to this space back in early 2022, the original plan was to run a gallery alongside my art studio. The vision was to create a space that celebrated nature through the arts, reflecting my own creative practice, which revolves around connecting to nature. I imagined I would showcase artists who worked with natural and found materials, eco-art practices, and themes that honored the environment. And therefore, I named the space For the Love of Plants, or Efterlopp Gallery, as it became. But as the months went by, I quickly realized that running a gallery in a small town came with its own set of challenges. Honestly, running a gallery anywhere, I think, is hard, but being new to the town with no reputation as a gallerist, no established network, no email list of potential art buyers, I was in over my head. Luckily, I did connect early on with an art buyer who purchased works for the municipality and larger governmental projects. She supported every exhibition I curated, and that kept things going for a while. But she was my main buyer, and it became clear that this wasn't going to sustain the space or my vision for it. At the same time, I had begun teaching workshops in botanical ink making and rust and earth pigments. And I was really falling in love with the whole process of teaching and facilitating creativity for others. It brought me a lot of joy, and I realized I was really good at making people feel relaxed and open to exploring their creativity. And so I started to dream up how I could create more of those types of moments. And then, it hit me that if I wanted to continue running this space, I needed to shift direction. And so the idea of the Creative Cafe was born. I started small, testing out the concept with hosting themed events like waffles and weaving or cupcakes and clay. And people really loved having this low pressure space to create. From there, I began building out a menu of creative activities, and now the cafe functions as a place where people can drop in, order a piece of cake, and pick an activity off the creative menu and have a cozy time. It's not the gallery I envisioned when I first opened the doors, but in so many ways, it's so much more than I could have imagined. The space has become like a hub for connection, creativity, and community. For me, that just feels like the truest expression of what I sort of wanted to create all along. Having said that, it's, of course, hasn't been easy. This is a small town, and getting people to understand the concept of a creative cafe takes time. But I really believe in it. I really do. I see the joy it brings to people when they come in, and that reminds me of why I'm doing this. So I've got big dreams for next year. I want to launch my own line of Slow Hands products, Oh yes, I forgot to mention that the place then had a rebrand. It's no longer called For the Love of Plants. It's now called Slow Hands, which I feel is like reflective of the mindfulness and creativity that happens here. Anyway, yes, so I've got big plans for next year. I want to launch my own line of Slow Hands products. And I've been thinking about how I could like take the creative cafe on the road, do pop-ups in other cities. I think that could be amazing, especially since I love hosting so much. For me, it feels like kind of like living art. It's not just about setting up a space. It's about creating an experience, a feeling, something that we all co-create together. I love it. But yeah, being a creative entrepreneur is like a constant balancing act. You have to have the patience to let an idea grow, but you also have to know when it's time to pivot. For me, Slow Hands is still quite young. It's less than a year old, so it's still finding its rhythm, and I'm still finding my rhythm. But yeah, this is just the beginning, right? All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.